All right, so in this video, hopefully it's going to be very quick. I'm going to give you some fast rules for storing numbers. So when you're talking about fast rules, I'm talking about how we're going to annotate or mark the type of the columns inside of a table when we create the table. So what word are we going to use right there, and right there for storing different numbers inside of a column? Okay, so here's the 4 rules that we really need to understand. First rule, if we're ever trying to define the ID column of a table, we're going to mark the column as serial. That's pretty much it. If we are ever trying to store a number that is not going to have a decimal on it, we're going to mark the column as integer. That's pretty much it. Those first 2, pretty simple, straightforward. The next 2 after that are going to be just a little bit more challenging. So the next one, if we're ever trying to store a bank balance or like a currency value or some number that needs to be extremely accurate and very precise. So a bank balance, maybe the number of grams of gold a person has, or if we're trying to store some scientific numbers, so we need to run some calculations on, and it's going to be a number that's going to have a decimal, then we're going to mark the column as numeric. Otherwise, if we're trying to store a number that has a decimal, and this number doesn't need to be very precise, for example, maybe the kilograms of trash in a landfill, or the liters of water in a lake, if we're trying to store, say, 2 million kilograms of trash in a landfill, does it really matter if we've got 200 kilograms or 2,000 kilograms or 2,000.1? The difference between those numbers is pretty negligible. It doesn't really matter in the context of kilograms of trash in a landfill. Chances are we measured the number of kilograms of trash inaccurately anyways in real life. So if we're ever trying to store a number that doesn't need to be 100% precise, then we'll mark the column as double precision instead. Okay, so those are our 4 rules of thumb. If you don't care about hearing any more about numbers, skip the next video. Otherwise, stick around for just a moment. We'll go into more detail on these rules and all these different data types.